Hello, hello, hello. It is that time. We have started, and it is Be Live's birthday. So don't forget, let me know where you're watching from, but don't forget to put happy birthday, Be Live, in the comment section. 7 years, which is amazing. And it's been amazing in the time to see that platform grow and develop. And I wonder if we've got anyone in the comment section that has been here for the full 7 years. If you're a 7 year, again, let us know in the comment section. And do you know what's really cool? We're going to put this up here. The lottery jar, it is in the corner there. During this stream, if you comment, your name will appear in that lottery jar there, and we will be picking a winner right at the end of this show. And you are in for a treat, because the prize, the giveaway for this one, is 7 months free Be Live account. That's 7 months free Be Live account, just for commenting, asking questions, or saying something funny in the comment section. So how cool is that? So we're going to be talking to Deedee in a moment, and it's going to be fun. I can tell. We've already had a bit of a chat in the green room, and we're very similar characters, I think, which is quite cool. So this could go anywhere. So yes, it is Be Live's birthday, and so let me just bring this up as well, because as well as that giveaway, there is a 2 years for the price of one. If you sign up for Be Live as well, that's 2 years for the price of one, just to celebrate that 7 year birthday. So that is absolutely extra special too. Now, Deedee is going to be coming on. Guys, please feel free to ask her questions. I've already got some questions lined up for her, and it's going to be fun. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Please make her feel very, very welcome. Make sure you get those comments going as well. And like I say, let me know where you're watching from. It's always interesting to know if you're a Facebook, a YouTube, a LinkedIn. Let us know in the comment section. But please make her feel very welcome. The one and only Deedee Willis. Here she is. There she is.
Hello. Happy birthday. Do you want me to sing happy birthday to you? Probably not.
Yeah, absolutely. You shouldn't have said that.
If you have dogs in the room, they'll start to howl. So you don't want to do that.
Exactly.
That's a big accomplishment. So congratulations.
Awesome. How many dogs do you have?
I have two. I have two Labrador retrievers. I just had to run out and try to find them because they were running amok in the yard. So now they're running amok in the house. So that's awesome.
Awesome. I can imagine they're a bit of a handful as well, Labradors.
Yeah, they are. They're lovely. They're like little ferrets in dog outfits, is what we say, though.
That's a great way of describing them. I'm a cat dad, and my cat does keep me on my toes.
That's good. They take care of themselves. So yeah, cats take care of themselves. Dogs are a mess. So
yes. They say dogs have owners, cats have staff, and that's not far wrong, is that? To be fair. So before we do this, let me just bring up a quick link there. That is to your website, deedeewillskindergarten.com. That's cool. For the people that don't know, tell them about yourself.
Sure. I have been in public education for many years. I started off in the classroom. I became an instructional coach for a number of years, which means I go in and I help teachers help improve their practices in classrooms. And then I went back into the classroom, and I really missed interfacing with teachers and sharing ideas and sharing latest research and that sort of thing. So I decided to start my blog. This is when everybody started a blog, right? Like 12 years ago, everybody had a blog. And so over time, that blog became a business, and then that business took over my teaching career. And so now I do professional development all over the country, and I continue to blog. I create resources to help teachers not only know what to do in the classrooms, but how to do it. And I have a lovely following that have been with me since the beginning, and some that I'm learning about every day that are joining me. So yeah.
Awesome. It's amazing how the pandemic and everything moved things online quite rapidly. So I think it did brilliant for the platform.
Right. The pandemic. I was already 9 years into my work of being a presenter and creating resources. So I've been doing that for a while. But then when the pandemic hit, all of a sudden, just like the rest of the world, everybody was, navigating a brand new space, and teachers were now having to do all of their teaching online. So, what I you actually this is I know I told you I'd probably mention this, but I went live in my Facebook group every day with teachers who are at home just struggling to figure out how do I teach 5 and 6 year olds online.
Yeah.
And so I would meet with them every day in the afternoon just to say, okay, what challenges do you have? What questions can I answer? What kind of technology are you using with your students, and how can we troubleshoot some things that you're running into? And so for me, I really looked forward to our daily chats. It was usually about 45 minutes a day, but the teachers really looked forward to it as well. I think they said, and that really helped kind of grow the audience. They knew they could count on me, and they kind of knew how everything would be connected. So it was a great. I mean, it wasn't a great time, but it was a great way for me to connect with my audience, and for me to do it in a way that I'm comfortable with having my computer screen in front of me, versus balancing a phone. That's just not for me. So this was great. I could share slides, all of those types of things, open up another screen. It just was really nimble, and so
Mm.
I loved that, and I think that the teachers really appreciated that as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, it's very similar. It was such an intuitive and easy platform to look professional when everyone else was just going live on the phones. It was a
Right,
no-brainer.
right, right.
Yeah. So you talk about the kind of presenting experience. How can teachers leverage their classroom experience for online content?
Well, we don't have as many teachers teaching virtually now. But if you're asking about how, if you wanted to create your own resources, I could talk a little bit about that. We still have some teachers who are using Google Classroom. Um, I think that those are used, those e-platforms are used really in upper elementary. In the lower elementary grades, we just don't have as much, just
Mm,
because they're 5 and 6. Although they probably know more about computer systems than I do, but we just don't have as much, student independent work in
mm,
with 5 and 6 year olds and 7 year olds. It's a lot more teacher driven instruction than it is something that's being done, where students are doing independent study, so to speak. But how do I use my experience when I want to create content for other people online, for other people to digest? I think one of the important things is to really know your audience well. And oftentimes, if you're just starting out, that might be hard because you may not know really who your audience is. Is it a first year teacher? Is it a teacher who is, nearing retirement? Is it somebody who's, a student thinking about entering the teaching profession? And then also, what is your area expertise? Like, what is it that you bring to them that maybe somebody else might not? If you were to go onto my TikTok channel, you would see very little dancing. You would see very little edutainment, is what I call it. There are some people who are really great about making people laugh about classroom experiences. That's really not my thing. My thing is about best practices within the classroom. So instructional practice is what I'm looking for. And then of course I always want to make it really fun. So what do I use when I'm in the class, when I'm working with classrooms? It's going to sound kind of weird, but while I'm working with students, I'm kind of having like this little out of body experience. So I'm looking over my shoulder thinking, what should I do to make this lesson more effective, and easier for teachers to implement? And how can I make this more engaging? So those are things that I'm constantly thinking about while I'm working with students. And then, of course, sometimes you'll create a resource and you realize you missed a piece out. And then when you're using with students, you're like, oh, this is where they're getting confused. So it always has to be student tested.
yeah, yeah. Great advice. Great advice. Great advice. Which platforms do you feel kind of resonate most with educational content?
I really, it's been shifting quite a bit. I think initially, obviously, Facebook was the first one to the show, right?
Mm,
And so, gosh, I kind of miss those early Facebook days. I mean, they were so simple. You just posted something, everybody saw it. For me, that's where a lot of my audience currently is still in Facebook, because I really curated that audience. But it's a different age demographic, I think, than what you would see on Instagram. And then, of course, TikTok has a whole other, right, age demographic, I think. So, but the one that's kind of emerging more, I think, is YouTube. Between TikTok and YouTube, because TikTok can be entertaining, but it can also be instructional as well. It could be short little clips on how to do this particular thing or how solve this particular problem. And so TikTok is one that is definitely coming into the mix. But YouTube as well is a way for people to start and stop on their own schedule. What I love about Be Live, I know you probably weren't going to ask me this, but I go live to all the platforms that I currently can right now. And so that it kind of goes out everywhere. I haven't put a lot of energy into YouTube yet because I'm swimming hard right now. Like if you're like a team of one, you're swimming hard. So I'm swimming hard right now. But YouTube is one that I think is for any time you want to learn how to do something, you YouTube it. So for my particular audience, that would be one that would really, really resonate well. So do you want me to answer? Is it Oliver Kofi? Is that right? If I said that right, like use my phonics. Do I use a profile page or group? I do both. I don't do it on my personal profile. I go to my page and then I have a Facebook group that I go to. Okay, good. I said it right. Yes, I go ahead and I stream both to those two locations. Sometimes people like to be in a group versus being out in the world. It's like standing outside in a crowd when you're on the group. When you're in the group, you're a little more intimate group versus on the open space. So I do to both of those locations whenever I go live. I have a pretty sizable Facebook group. I think it's like 48,000 or something like that. So I have a pretty sizable Facebook group. And so I want to also make sure that I encourage engagement there as well. So that's another benefit of having those lives go there.
Brilliant.
Yeah. And my group is, it's searchable. I'd have to look. I think I've changed it back and forth a few times and I've slept since I did that. So I don't remember what it is now, but you have to put in answer questions in order to get into that group. So I think that makes it private. So I think it makes it private. So they have to, because what we were having a lot of scammers come in there and posting inappropriate things.
Yeah.
So now I ask questions that only teachers would know. Somebody could Google it, right? And go on YouTube and find out that answer. But I have some very specific questions that I ask in order for them to get in. Yeah. So it's private, but it's not secret. Thank you for the lingo. You're on it. Yeah.
I love it. How can teachers adapt their content to cater for diverse online learners?
Right. I think that, the content that the big discussion that we're having right now in the US on reading instruction is about the way the brain learns to read. So that's a big, huge discussion that we're having. And it's called the science of reading. So if you're not in education, you may not be familiar with that. But it's called the science of reading or structured literacy approach. And it really is about differentiating your instruction to meet the students where they are. And so it's about, for some students, they may need to see something 7 or 8 times in order to master it. But other students might need to see it up to 200-300 times in order to master it. So you just want to have consistency in the way that you're delivering it, so that students can retrieve that information. So I use the example as a file cabinet. So if I deliver the same consistent type of instruction, so if I teach students in a systematic way, in a direct way, I want to make sure that they get the information so they can file it away, essentially, in their brain in a way that they can retrieve it. So I use the example of my husband and myself. So my husband's very type A. He can call me from the other side of the world. Hey, I need you to find this document. It's in my file cabinets on the top drawer. It's going to be in this folder, and then go ahead and scan it and send it to me. So, and it's exactly where he says it's going to be. Now I'm a stacker and shuffler. So I know that my information is here somewhere. You're laughing because I think you and I are kind of like made up.
Yeah.
It's here somewhere. I know I can find it, but it might take me a moment to get it. So when we deliver instruction in a systematic, direct way, it's like putting it in a file cabinet so that people can go ahead and pull that out and then use it. When I say people, we're talking about students, right? We're talking about students. So if I'm asking them what sound a letter makes, we want to deliver it in a way so it can be retrieved. What we've been doing historically has been stuff, kind of stacking and shuffling the instruction. So it's all over the place. So students are having a hard time retrieving it. So really within the space of learning to read and really mathematics, we want to make sure that we're delivering it in a super explicit way and that know that some students are going to need to hear it multiple times in order for those neural pathways in the brain to be developed so that they can retrieve it. That was a really long answer.
I know, it's absolutely spot on as well. But and again, this leads into the next question quite perfectly, really. What is a crucial element in making educational content both fun and informative?
Yeah, I think one of the critical thing is knowing where students are in their instructional journey. So, for myself, I want to make sure I'm learning something that I'm ready to learn. And so if it's way over my head, then I can't access that, and I'll come up with behaviors that will make me not get out of participating in that activity, right? So, example, if I was going to run a marathon, somebody said, "Hey, listen, you're going to run a marathon. You've never been practicing it, but we're going to go." I would come up with all kinds of avoidance behavior, and people probably wouldn't look at me and think, "Oh, she's got her act together." They'd say she's got some behavior problems, right? So we want to make sure that the information that we're going to be giving the students is a way that they can access it. And so that's one thing. We want to make sure it's multisensory, especially for those younger students, because they need to see it, hear it, feel it if they can. And what I mean by feeling it is, maybe we're tracing letters. And if we're tracing with our finger, maybe they can trace it over the top of a piece of sandpaper, right? So now they're getting tactile feedback. They're saying the letters, they're feeling with their finger, they're hearing it, and they might even be seeing it. So all of those things make it multisensory, which again helps build those neural pathways. People have fun when they're successful. So that's the crucial thing. If students aren't successful, they're not having fun and you're not having fun. So because it's just you're having to deal with behavior issues, which I just admitted I would also have. So we want to make sure that it's right in their lane, and that even though we want to deliver instruction the same way, we can use sandpaper today, we can use something else tomorrow. There's lots of different ways to make it multisensory so that we're doing the same activity, but we're doing it in a different way, right? So that it makes it not boring. But again, I think sometimes people think instruction can be boring when you're the adult who already knows it and you're doing all that repetition. For us, it is boring, because we already know it. But for those students, they're like, I'm doing it. Hey, look at me. I'm being successful. So for them, that's not boring.
Great point. Great point. I mean, for me, it's weird because like when I was at school, I had a difficulty with the learning process. And as an adult learner, just because of the different way it was delivered, now I just like to consume knowledge any way, shape I can now. And
Yeah.
it's so different.
Well, it was thought that, that there was a large percentage of the population that just wasn't going to be successful readers, that roughly 40% of the population out there are not reading at grade level when they're in the fourth grade, right? So 40% is a huge amount. And so there was this belief that that there's just going to be some people who are going to be good readers and some students who are not going to be good readers. But the reality is our brains are not wired for reading or writing. Our brains are wired for language. And so it's reading and writing is a totally man-made invention. And so some students are able to connect these there's 3 and 4 areas that we're needing, but some students are able to have all of those areas fired with a certain type of instruction. And it's almost like those students can learn even if you weren't there, like in spite of what the teacher's doing. But there's a large population that need that explicit instruction because only one area of their brain is firing. And so we have to deliver this instruction in a way that builds those neural pathways so that they can become a reader and writer. They just might need a little bit more instruction, which is what it's all about, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Great question here as well. Do you have any classroom processes that might be adapted for marketing purposes, like educating the market online for things they may not know that they need yet?
Oftentimes, you and I were talking about slide decks and how you were feeling like that wasn't your favorite thing. And
Mm,
I didn't share with you, but when I do professional development, I always provide a visual as well. Because oftentimes, um, you know, okay, so an audience, maybe adult. I think sometimes when I say something, I know what I'm talking about. So I assume other people will also know what
yeah,
I'm talking about, right? And maybe I call it something different than somebody else might call it. They might be a regional thing, it might be a global thing, they might call it something different. Um, and so if I can have a visual, it will help connect the item to the language. So if you're trying to educate anyone, I think that you want to make sure that you keep your graphics as visual as possible
mm,
because not everybody is going to read through a slide deck, right? So I tend to, because I work with kindergarten, first grade teachers, my slide decks are very visual. And so if I want to talk about the neural pathways of the brain, I don't talk about them in words. I show them in pictures
mm,
because you need to you want to make sure that people, one, stay engaged. So sometimes people will tune you out if you have a lot of words. And so you want to make sure that you keep them engaged in what you're talking about, especially, that diverse learner who may also have some attention issues, or if you're online teaching them, maybe they're also checking their email or texting their wife or any of those things. So you want to make sure you have something that can bring them back in and engage them in that discussion.
yeah. I think that in itself is a great point, that spans everything, especially online when you're live streaming. To have that skill set of knowing that people are going to tune out and kind of pull them
Yes.
back in as well. So yeah, great
Yeah.
skill set there as well. And guys, don't forget, if you have any questions or comments, drop them in the comment section for your chance of winning a 7-month premium Be Live account, which is pretty awesome. Chris says, yeah, I will have an adult audience, potential antique collectors. So again, that's a great niche to be in, and you've got to know your onions as such if you're talking to those people. I
Um,
work with B-roll pictures and videos, and they hear and see what we are talking about.
I
Yeah, I
think
love
that's a
that.
great way. Yeah, I think that's a great way to kind of keep them engaged. If we're talking about specifically Be Live, we've already seen some great examples where you put the question up in front so that people could say, okay, wait a minute, I just tuned out for a second because I was texting my husband, and now I'm like, okay, what are we talking about? So that's a
Yeah,
great way. I think some of the widgets that you also have, I love the lottery jar. I think it's
yeah,
great. Because I think sometimes people sit and think about, I'm just going to sit and and then when you engage them to put down their questions or to comment, it brings them back in. So I always love to use the lottery jar for
yeah.
anytime I do a live, so that I can be sure that I'm constantly bringing them back into the conversation. I don't
Yeah.
think anybody intentionally tunes you out. I do it oftentimes. I'll watch something online, like a webinar or something. And I'm thinking, I'm going to do that and this. And then all of a sudden, I'm drifting in and out of those conversations. But if they're asking us to comment or something along those lines, then it's constantly thinking, okay, this is where I need to have my attention. And that's really what we want to do with our audience as well. We want to make sure that if you're delivering something that's critical to them, maybe it's knowledge, maybe you're trying to sell something,
Mm.
but you want to make sure that they are, with you as much as you can. So again, when these things automatically pop up, I love them because usually when I'm talking with my hands anyhow.
Yeah.
So I can't like do all of those things. So I love that they can be automated. Does everybody have them automated, or is that just a setting I hit, like where the comments could pop up?
Yeah, I mean, it is a setting in there. You can switch it off, but yeah, it's the automated comments are absolutely amazing. And when they first came out, I loved to test them to figure out what words would make sure it would go up and what words would make sure it wouldn't. And I love the AI that they use for that. So anything that may be perceived as being negative, it doesn't automatically show. And now it has that little thing where it tells you what it's going to show, and it gives you that option to skip it, sort of thing.
Yeah, if you are watching those comments, sometimes you'll see something. I'll see something that I want to make sure it gets up there right away.
Yeah.
And so I know I can send that to show when I'm hosting it myself. So that's lovely. But I also kind of like the ones that are just kind of spontaneously put up there. I think those are great.
Yeah, yeah, and like you said, it enables you as a presenter to concentrate on presenting, and let the system look after it for you. So it's like having a little assistant, which helps. So yeah, that is great. Do you have a go-to tool or app that elevates your content creation process?
Well, I know you love this program. We talked about that before. I use PowerPoint for everything. I'm a PC girl, so I'm not a Mac person. I think a lot of people who are creating things like I create, it's very graphic heavy, clip
Yeah.
art, that kind of thing. And then you want to be able to have this ability to move things around on the page. And so for me, PowerPoint works wonderful. Some people like to use Canva to create presentations. I'm just not as fluid with that. I've been using PowerPoint forever, so I love that.
Mm.
So yeah, I that's the one that I tend to use. But there's others as well. You could use Illustrator if you're familiar with that. But really for slide decks, most of the time I'm using PowerPoint. I have done some slide decks within Canva.
Mm.
Canva Pro, if you're really good at it, it's great.
Yeah.
I can do PowerPoint in my sleep, so all of those those keystrokes are automatic for me. Where for Canva, I have to stop for a moment to think about it. So for me, that's a little bit, the layering and all that stuff is a little harder for me. If I stuck with it, I would be better at it. But for now, I'm just using PowerPoint. It seems to work pretty well for me. And then any type of recorded session that I do, if I'm going to record something like for an online training that is running on a platform like Kajabi or something like that, I like to record within Prezi video.
Mm.
That's a great way to do it. But this is also a great way that you could record offline. I did that as well, where I've done offline recording, you can show your screen. You could be down in the corner. I think having your face anytime that you're presenting, if you're going to pre-record something, it keeps people engaged. Nobody wants to look at slides. They want to know they're coming to you for you, not for the slides, right? So definitely want to make sure, ooh, what is this crate? Writing that down. I'm writing that down. I need another thing to scroll to, but I'm writing that down. Thank you, Oliver. But I think that, anytime you're trying to engage your audience, you want to make sure that your personality is there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, unless you have a bad personality, I guess. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure you don't have a bad, but you want to make sure you infuse yourself into it. So having your face visible is, I think, really, really important. And I think for a lot of people, they get, if somebody would have told high school me that I would be spending my time talking in front of people, or being on camera, I thought they would have been like, there's no way. Cause I was the shyest person. I still am an introvert. I'm an introvert extrovert, if you know what I mean. But you just got to get over yourself. If you're going to have an online presence, you got to get over it. And you got to go through it. And you have to know, hey, you know what? This isn't going to be great at first. This is going to be really uncomfortable. I'm going to have flop sweat, but you got to get over it and you got to get through it because your audience wants to connect with you. If you're trying to build a following that you're the go-to person, right? And that's I think what every online content creator is looking for, to be that person they go to. Yeah.
And you're right there. People kind of connect with faces and personalities, and going live for some people that haven't done it before is this big challenge. But it's that challenge that means, like, now we're still at a very early stage of this world. So by going live and putting yourself out there, it puts you so much further ahead of any type of competition or other people doing it.
Absolutely.
It's not a vanity thing. It's a business thing. It's what you should be doing. It's marketing.
Right. And it's again one of those things that you get better with time. You can watch other people's lives to say, "Oh, I like that style. That feels like me." You want it to be authentic you. So watch some other people, see what feels like you. But don't get bogged down in that research, because you can look for perfection as a way. I'm just saying, I did it as a way of putting off getting started. So I'm just going to keep, I'm in the research phase. I don't have to do anything right now. So be in the research phase, but limit that to a short period of time.
Yeah.
And then the lovely thing about lives is when they're over, it's not like, um, if you're doing it on Facebook, it's not like people are going to bring up your life for 5 years ago, So if it was horrible, delete that sucker a little bit later on. You'll be fine, right? If you just, if it was a hot mess, delete it later. You'll be fine. YouTube is a little bit different, but of course, that's the place where I need to be. So I just said to get out of the research phase. So I'm
Yeah.
speaking to myself. So
Yeah. Done is better than perfect. But do you know what? I love my terrible old streams. Now I can look back at them now and go, they're so terrible. I can bring them into a stream to go look at the difference between then and now.
yeah,
If I'd have looked back then, and I think it's a great phrase. I don't know what it is. I'm paraphrasing on it, but it is don't compare your day one to somebody else's day 100.
100.
And it's on YouTube. We're seeing the best of the best, and the algorithm shows us that.
Yeah,
But we've just got to start.
right, right. And in the term of the SEO world, YouTube is a great backlink back to your
Oh,
blog. So,
yeah.
that's just another reason. I'm writing that down for myself. No, I'm just kidding. But that's another reason to get on that platform because they live for a long time there. And it's a great way to elevate your SEO on your website as well.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. How do you strike a balance between curriculum-based content and trending educational topics?
I've always been kind of more curriculum based. So, you know, hopefully, if I'm doing my job right as an educator and as a person who reads research about education, what's trending is also what's appropriate for student learning. So I am constantly reading. I'm reading books about education. I'm reading science articles. I participate in a lot of different online journals, so I can constantly be reading. I'm also in Facebook groups that helps me also learn. I don't like trends are to me, I feel like trends are like blue jeans, right? Like that's like now we're doing high waisted and right. So that's a trend. Hopefully what's trending is what's best for students,
Mm,
hopefully. And so I do hope that I am on trend and also curriculum based. That's my hope. There are some things out there that were trending like escape rooms, right? That was a big thing in education. I think they still are. That's not my wheelhouse. So you can't be for me, I can't be in everything.
yeah.
I need to stay with what I feel really passionate about and what my knowledge base is. And make sure that I'm staying in my lane, the things that I know I can talk about.
Yeah. It's one thing I really love, to be fair. I know, like, when TikTok first came around, there's lots of guys that do kind of what I do in the kind of mindset world that were jumping onto TikTok trends and dances and all sorts of stuff to be on trend to get the traffic. But I think
Right,
kind of value-based content, knowing your kind of niche and sticking to that, like you said, staying in your lane,
right.
is a good thing to do. Deedee, hey, great to have you here as well. Don't forget, by commenting, you are put into the lottery jar for a chance of winning 7 months premium Be Live as well, and we will be announcing that winner very shortly as well. So, if there was one piece of advice you could give to teachers that are diving into content creation for the first time, or a piece of advice that you would give yourself starting out, what would it be?
Um, I actually have two things. One I already talked about. Make sure you know what you're talking about. There are a lot of things that are coming out in education. Some of them are based on best practices, and some of them are not. So if you don't know what is best for students or what's not, then you shouldn't be talking about it because you can have people follow your advice and you might be taking them down the wrong road. With that in mind, if I were talking to you for about reading instruction 8 years ago, I would have been saying something very different about the way to deliver instruction. And since then, the science of reading has really gotten a lot of attention. And I had to admit, ooh, I was barking down the wrong tree. No, walking down the wrong lane, barking up the wrong tree. Whatever they
Yes.
said, I was wrong. And I had to say, you guys know better, do better. And so let me tell you what was wrong with what I thought, and let me tell you what I think we should be doing now. And so I was just talking to Emily Hanford last night. She's like a big APM, American Public Media investigative journalist, and she did this podcast series called Sold a Story, which is about how we used to think about reading and how we think about it now. And she says to stay humble and curious. So that's my first advice: stay humble and curious. The other thing is, don't make something that's already been made. We don't need we don't need 15 of the exact same things. Make sure that you add something in there that makes you unique. So if something's already been made, there's no reason for you to remake it. Make something else or improve upon whatever that particular thing was. So I do think that don't. There's a tendency to copy other people or other curriculum. There's people who spend a lot of time developing their curriculum, and it's really easy to copy somebody's thing. So you want to make sure that you don't do that. You want to make sure that you are being unique and, ethical in that, right?
Cool. Absolutely. I just put up a link to your website there. There's someone that's asking in the comment section about where they can find your content online. There is a link to your website there, which is mrswiltskindergarten.com, and your social media links are on that page as well. Do check her out and subscribe to all of her socials, especially her YouTube as well.
Please let me, because I'm going to spam you. Get on my email list. I'll just send, no, I'm kidding. I don't do that many emails. I try to keep it to 1 or 2 a week. But if you're interested in early childhood education, I would love to have you join me as I continue to learn.
Awesome. Chris says, I am still learning about education. An excellent pro for Be Live is that we can record to have some reserve when preparing a new show. Is it possible that I can record to have some reserve when preparing for a busy show in a busy period? Yeah. Absolutely. Oliver says, thank you, and is having a bit of a laugh with us too. So now is the moment. It is Be Live's 7th birthday. So let me just pop this up here as well. You can get 2 years for the price of 1 if you sign up to Be Live today or during this birthday celebration. But most importantly, you are here right now, not only for our amazing guest, but also for the fact that by commenting, you've been put into a prize draw in the lottery jar to win 7 months of premium Be Live. So what we normally do is I'd like, if you're in the comment section, put a drum roll emoji or an applause emoji, and I will let our guest, Deedee, count me down before I hit the button to pick a winner.
Where do you want me to start?
You count me down whenever you're ready.
All right. Here we go. 10, 9, 8. Come on, people. 7. It's all going to come in at the end. You know the lag. 6,
absolutely.
5. I'm going to drag it out here.
Build that anticipation.
4, 3, 2, 1.
And let's see who that winner is. The winner is Chris. Well done, Chris. You, I'm sure someone from the team will be in touch with you. There we go. What we do. Okay, go. Perfect. There we go. Guys, please do make Deedee feel very welcome, sharing some absolutely amazing insights into the education and content creation world. Please do follow her socials, join up for that email list. I know I will as well, because I do think having that educational content, having that knowledge is only going to help you be a better presenter in delivering content to your audience as well. So guys, don't forget to check out all the other streams and check out Be Live as well. And if you didn't win, don't worry, you can sign up and get 2 years for the price of 1. Guys, thank you very much. Deedee, thank you very much for joining us as well for these birthday celebrations. It's been amazing to have you on. And I think I might kind of, join your list, sign up and subscribe.
I'll just spam you like crazy. Join me. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Spam away. Guys, thank you very much. Take care.